If Found is a reminder that the medium of video games isn't done evolving. The diverging branches of interactivity still have new variations to explore, and will never finish discovering what creative and diverse minds can do with the form. Developed by Laura Ash McGee of Dreamfeel and published by Annapurna Interactive, If Found is about a transgender woman named Cassio returning to her Irish hometown of Achill Island and erasing her journal. Now, Annapurna is to the interactive art house what Devolver Digital is to psychedelic murder, and the popularity of titles like What Remains of Edith Finch, Florence, and Outer Wilds speak to the hunger for this niche. These games are built on uncomplicated mechanics that allow us to casually perform the characters' roles, while simultaneously revealing depths beneath the unassuming presentation. The central revelatory mechanic of If Found is erasing. On the surface, the eraser is an incredible vehicle for delivering emotion-driven narratives. The wonderful hand-drawn art from Liad Young takes full advantage of color and shape to communicate meaning. Moving the eraser over the images progressively alters the mood with each new hue or figure. It's an inference-laden expression that sensorially evokes complicated reactions without unnecessary exposition or over-explanation. And so the story is felt rather than read. I also appreciate how the eraser can recontextualize certain silhouettes for some remarkable scene transitions. If Found routinely employs shot reverse shot, close-ups, visual distortion, and clever reveals, using the eraser to recreate the effects of cinematography, all while maintaining a static view of a journal. As a mechanic for moving the story forward, the eraser is considerably more compelling than the next or continue buttons employed by most narrative-driven games. This method hands control of the pace over to the player, who can decide how they move from scene to scene. Which part of the image would they like to reveal first, how quickly do they want to reveal the information, and for how long should they linger on the intended feeling before moving on. At the same time, disrupting or taking away that control can strengthen the tension of the moment, forcing players to sit with the invalidation and uncertainty Cassio experiences. The tactile frustration of dehumanizing interactions emphasizes the characterization involved in erasure. Far from simply progressing the story, erasing gives players insight into Cassio's emotional process. It's primarily an act of negation that nonetheless leaves Cassio vulnerable. Her connection to her family is constantly tested by transphobic invalidation. Her mother claims that rejecting her gender is a part of preparing her child for the real world, while her brother insists that her transition has been a burden on the family. Cassio's decision to erase that connection was made from a desire for safety and the preservation of her own emotional energy. She wants to be empathetic and patient, doing whatever she can to make her family understand, but she clashes with people who are unwilling to reciprocate. Their peace of mind is contingent upon her unhappiness, and she can't tolerate that anymore. As a player, erasing feels destructive. Like I said, Liad Young did some incredible work, and I hate having to ruin it. But such a sacrifice is necessary lest Cassio begin to stagnate again. And so we see that the act of erasing is also revealing. Underneath piles of scratches, scribbles, and hastily dispensed apologetics are vivid accounts of her interactions with others. Some are pleasant while others are devastating, but the entire process of uncovering them reflects a tendency toward personal suppression. Cassio learned to cover her true feelings to preserve the armistice she's formed with unsafe people. People who could turn on her when they discovered her transition or her pride therein. Sadly, this is a learned behavior. The trauma of family rejection caused her to read conflict as a source of danger to be avoided. Disagreements trigger this singularity of uncertainty, distrust, and hypervigilance, pulling her away from the people who do genuinely care for her. Time spent in the proximity of others creates a buildup of anxiety as she waits for the other shoe to drop. Despite how much she wants to love, the pain of loss has turned relationships into a risk she can scarcely take, so she buries the false promise of companionship in graphite and hopes she's strong enough to bear the rejection. Only she isn't. No one is. And erasure has revealed the source of Cassio's pain. It's a deep, twisting fear of calamity, of hopelessness. It's a crushing terror that distorts her mind, her feelings, and even time itself. The happy memories written in her diary grow treacherous with each friend she loses. The stagnation of Achill Island has dragged her back to an identity she retired years ago. Her past is discordant with her present, Her sense of belonging has been thwarted, and the tumult of her homecoming mocks her paralysis. Yet for all that pain, erasure is still an affirming act. Casting aside the hindering bonds made way for new, positive experiences undergirded by genuineness. The chance for Cassio to be herself was revelatory. She sought a personal happiness not bound by external expectations, and doing so led her to the right people. Friends who loved her, taking her to places where she belonged without fear of judgment. She felt invaluable catharsis in the act of existing unconditionally. Such affirmation also drew the love of guardians who saw her as worth protecting. As awkward as their alliances were at times, their actions spoke a language of acceptance. They resonated with the belief that the best thing a child can be is loved. Sexuality, gender, and race should never get in the way. Lastly, living genuinely made others open their hearts to change, to admit their wrongdoing, love their child without reservation, and undo the conditions that led to their hopelessness. Erasure of who Cassio was forced to be, how she was forced to behave, and the existence she was forced to tolerate was life-saving. It's a tangible relief at the end of a 2.5-hour journey when erasing a troubled past resulted in a warmer future. If found, is wonderful to experience firsthand because simple interactivity gives way to sweeping visuals and emotions, born from a desire to break conventional molds. Dreamfield demonstrates gaming's affinity for the unexpected, and I look forward to the next creative evolution of the medium.